Today on Business Leader Breakthroughs podcast, we have a guest who thought she was going to be a marine biologist and has ended up advising many of our most significant companies on how they can navigate the extreme pace of technology whilst helping people be the best they can be. Joanne Fair of FutureWorks Studio spent much of her career in management roles for organisations such as Fonterra, BNZ and Air New Zealand. But a trip to Singularity University opened her mind to the rapid evolution of tech, work practices and how people want to deliver their best without the traditional work models. Models that are no longer making our economy as high performing as it should be. Along with co-founder Vincent Vullard, they have developed FutureWorks Studio and Team. Learn how they are helping to unlock potential in people, teams and organisations.
Hey Joe, welcome along to Business Leader Breakthroughs. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Cool. Hello, I'm going to start you off with a few fast fact questions. Let's get to know you a little bit more.
Sure.
Are you a breakfast or a dinner person?
Definitely a breakfast person.
Right.
Yeah, like to start my day, with good amount of protein and get started and coffee. Can't get going without coffee.
So steak and coffee, is that breakfast? Good
Not
protein?
Quite. Probably boiled eggs and coffee usually.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, and does that mean you're an early riser as well?
Yeah, I increasingly so. Didn't used to be pre-kids, but amazing how it changes once you've got kids.
So forced behaviour change?
Out. Absolutely.
Good job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you were on holiday, would we most likely find you bungee jumping or cocktail on the lounger?
Ooh, probably a bit of both. I do enjoy a nice bit of relaxation, but not too much. After a while, I like to get out, see the local sites, explore the culture, be a bit active. So yeah,
good job.
And then relax at the end of the day with a cocktail.
Okay.
Yeah.
Adrenaline piece in there as well?
Yeah, a little bit. It's nice.
A little bit?
Yeah. Not too much.
Yeah, like three cocktails is
not
enough?
enough that puts me off my cocktails.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good result.
Yeah.
And are we most likely to find you in heels or trainers?
Trainers, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially post-corporate.
Right.
Yeah, which we can touch on later.
Yeah, love to.
Yeah.
Okay. Big question, cats or dogs?
Ooh, dogs, definitely.
Oh, yes. Awesome. We can continue.
Oh, good.
That's normally like an exit question. If you answer cats it's like,
out.
it's over.
Okay.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah,
so
lucky break.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And entertainment-wise, would we see you watching a thriller or maybe a bit of comedy or romance? Where do we be?
Definitely a thriller. Yeah. Good action thriller. Yeah, hard to beat.
Got a favourite?
Ooh, I'm on Netflix at the moment. I'm watching a Japanese English thriller, Haji, which is really interesting. So,
Might have to add it to the list.
Yeah, some good things on Netflix at the moment. So,
Yeah, a whole world of opportunity.
There are,
Maybe
just
too
not
much.
enough time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe too much. Okay. Look, we're going to be talking about the future of work. It's something that's very central to you and what you're doing.
Yeah.
You've come through a significant corporate career, worked for many of New Zealand's biggest brands and also international experience as well. But when you were a youngster, where did you think you'd end up? Did you have a classic career you thought you'd pursue?
Yeah, quite different actually. I probably the earliest career I thought I'd have was actually as a marine biologist. So it was when there was a lot. Jacques Cousteau was a lot on in those days, and we lived in Wellington by the beach. Spent a lot of time by the water. Interested in sharks. Jaws was out. It was all those good things.
Right.
But that evolved as I got older. So. Looked at medicine, then ultimately law, which is what I did my degree in, and landed up here, which I think is an early adopter of the new way of working, multiple careers.
So give us just a bit more insight into that journey. Started into law, went into corporate. How did you now transition into the business that you have today?
So I spent most of my career in strategic human resources, also a number of line management roles where I ran businesses. So over the sort of 20 odd years that I was in those roles, worked in a very traditional corporate structure, amazing opportunities, dynamic businesses, but relatively traditional. And what I started to see was that increasing pace of change. So you start to see technologies coming in, different social structures, and the inability at times to just respond quickly enough to those changing needs, which really piqued my interest. So went to Singularity University in Silicon Valley. I learned a lot about the changes that were coming, many of which in New Zealand we don't see every day, but are really a common reality now. and started to really become very interested in what it meant for the workforce and the future of the workforce, which was a great prompt to actually step outside. Started a business with my business partner Vincent, and FutureWorks Studio was born.
Right. So give us some insights. What were the tipping points when you went to Singularity University?
Yeah.
What were things you kind of observed as like, oh yeah, that's on the money?
I think it was the real recognition that technology is here. People talk a lot about the future of work, but really it's now, it's real, and in many parts of the world that pace is already there. And I think in New Zealand we've been relatively isolated, but actually it gives us a unique perspective and vantage point. You know, increasingly some of our traditional things that have made our economy successful will be harder and harder to maintain in a faster paced world, such as our agricultural industry, where we're at the end of a long supply chain. You look at wine, which is very seasonal, tourism, which requires people to come here in an environment where increasingly that carbon footprint is top of mind for people. But technology is something that can be developed from anywhere in the world, and New Zealand has a reputation and a history as innovators, so there's no reason why we can't really innovate and lead and drive productivity. We also have a real challenge that New Zealand is one of the lowest OECD countries for productivity. For a whole range of historical reasons, but technology can be a real unlocker and enabler for driving productivity. So it's a huge opportunity for New Zealand Inc. But to get there, we need to start to think differently about the way we work, and we need to unlock some of the amazing talent we have in our wider economy.
What do you think is holding us back in that productivity space? Why are we not better performing?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and as an economist, I certainly don't pretend to know all the answers. But you know, one of our observations, and certainly in the year or so that we've been running FutureWorks Studio, is that we are still a relatively traditional country in terms that we have a range of small businesses. We tend to operate in a very traditional way, and yet there's this huge opportunity to access different talent pools and work more flexibly. And a huge opportunity for New Zealand is to actually access overseas opportunities, because with remote working and new technologies, that all becomes available.
Yeah, the world's getting a lot smaller place, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us about FutureWorks Studio. Why did you start it? Where did you think the market opportunity was?
Yeah.
What did you think it would help, given what you'd observed in corporate?
Yeah. What we observed was that there was a real desire for people to work differently, and I saw it firsthand myself, and in talking to a lot of people, particularly in corporate New Zealand, but also in small businesses. Groups of people who want to work in a way that really plays to their strengths, come to work and do their best every day, but sometimes trapped in an environment where there was a lot of wasted time, or they were kind of caught within one part of a business. And equally, businesses increasingly looking to access really mobile talent and build out capabilities quickly and in a changing pace, but no ability to facilitate and join that. So we started FutureWorks Studio with an integrated platform which enables internally businesses to start to move their talent around, so be far more collaborative, look at multi-teaming, looking at opening up opportunities for people to be more highly engaged in new opportunities and different teams, right. And linking that to a broader talent pool externally, where when a specific capability is needed, there's the ability to bring that in quickly and build talent pools of really high level expertise of people who really want to just do their best, deliver value, and then move on to a new opportunity. Right. So our platform is integrated internally with the ability to then pull on that external resource.
So accessing external resource, but without the drama of going, I need to go and employ someone, I've got to go through that whole hire and additional costs and finding them a desk and all those kind of things. And then even, I guess, the traditional contractor model is even now getting a bit outdated. Where you're going, well, I need someone for this project for a couple of weeks, I don't need them for 3 months, so I don't want to go through a big contracting process.
That's
so
right.
kind of being able to unlock.
And starting to move towards a value focus. So payment for value of output rather than by the day, the week, the hour, whatever the case may be. So you're actually really starting to talk about what does value delivery look like, and that's far more satisfying for an individual, and obviously makes much more sense for a company too.
Yeah, way more.
Yeah.
And can you give us an example of how you might measure value delivery? Have you got a project example you might be able to share with us?
Yeah, we've got one customer we worked with recently where they had traditionally been putting in place a full-time marketing manager role. They decided that actually they would try a more flexible way of recruitment, because often in a marketing company for a medium-sized business, you end up having a very general approach but not necessarily deep expertise where you need it. So they approached us and said, if we were to break down the role into the various components, could we just source the expertise we need for the specific projects? So this organisation started with a PR and branding exercise.
Right.
They're able to source a really high calibre freelancer who's come in, delivered enormous value in terms of here's the output we need, measuring it with milestones. And they are now, that was a great piece of work for both very satisfied, and they're now starting to scope what's the next piece of work that they need.
Right.
So rather than playing, one full-time salary and a fairly generalist approach, the ability to really focus in. Yeah.
Do you think that might, in that example, potential to flip the traditional client agency model on its head? Because I think that's often where, because you've had a generalist as your marketing manager, good knowledge around lots of different things, but not deep expertise. They've tended to go to an agency for deep expertise. Now potentially changing that model up by going, we may not have an agency, but we might bring in individual freelancers that help us on this campaign or that initiative or that project to get going.
Yeah, absolutely. And increasingly we're starting to work with organisations around creating pools of talent. So there may be expertise that have worked with that company previously,
right,
but the company has the ability just to tap into that expertise when they need it. The freelancer then works with other organisations, but essentially they're pre-onboarded, they understand the company's needs, but just on demand when needed. And it complements the core of the workforce, and particularly in emerging technologies or areas of expertise like AI or so on can be particularly helpful.
And I can see how having that talent pool that you can tap into and release and then bring back in is really helpful. Of course, one of the challenges I think around a pure freelance model is you kind of do that, I'm going to have to spend all this time just getting them across what we are, what we're about, how we operate, what we're trying to achieve. But if you're able to kind of get through that and then dip in and out, it's a great approach.
That's right.
Okay.
And particularly in the areas of data, digital and tech, which is where we really are specialising. So, deep expertise where organisations need it often for those emerging projects in particular. So,
Okay. And so, Joe, in terms of the types of people that you're connecting with around freelancing, I guess the freelancing world has a very, very large scope.
Yes.
Everything from I need someone to transcribe the audio in this video into text, and it's a pretty low level. I can access people anywhere in the globe to do that for a few dollars kind of thing, right through to very deep expertise in a particular area, kind of FutureWorks Studio. Where do you guys focus?
Yeah, more at the deep expertise end. So the typical profile of some of our experts might be they've stepped out of large corporates at a very senior level, and so they bring that depth of expertise. We have machine learning experts that also teach at university level, but have corporate experience. So very much of that expertise.
Okay.
And what we recognise is that in New Zealand, and in fact increasingly we're seeing it around the world as well, there isn't necessarily the need for a full-time person in those very narrow areas of expertise, but if we can share that talent, we will benefit. So it's very much about how do we get a better outcome for New Zealand by accessing and sharing the amazing talent we do have.
Right.
So,
And what are the freelancers getting out of this? Why are they choosing that model versus the the nice perceived, in my view, perceived security of corporate life or whatever? What's in it for them?
I think what we're seeing when we talk to our freelancers is they're all running effectively their own small businesses, so they have the ability to really partner. So they're coming in not as someone who's taking orders, so to speak, but more as a real partner with the business around driving growth together. So they have a different mindset. They are doing work they love. They have the flexibility. So we have a number of freelancers that they're able to then balance out family needs or other needs to enable them to have the lifestyle they want. In some cases, balancing a mix of freelance work with not-for-profit work, for example, so they're contributing in different ways. But mostly, I think it's about that real sense of engagement when you're delivering value, doing the work you love, and being able to work in that more often is what that freelancing offers for them.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
And that's very much what we're looking to replicate internally as well, with the opening up internally, people to try new things, experience upskilling, but also have the ability to just really do valuable work in the areas they love. And that's the internal gig economy, if you like, that we're looking to drive to.
So let's talk about more that internal piece. What's the opportunity that businesses are missing by not having that internal gig economy?
I think businesses often have this incredible untapped human potential that sits within their organisation that for very good reasons there's just often not visibility of. So the ability to put in place a platform that enables that talent to have visibility of opportunities, and then for the organisation to perhaps tap into skills they weren't even aware were there. In some cases, we know of people who've been learning machine learning in their weekend.
Right.
The business might not be aware of that, but an opportunity comes up and all of a sudden this person has the opportunity to bring a different skill. Some of the businesses we're working with are looking to tap into more of the non-professional activities. So, for example, in the marketing department, opening up a photography opportunity where someone may actually be an amazing photographer, that's their passion, and they get to bring that passion to work. So a lot of what the platform is about is learning a different way of working. It's teaming differently, so bringing different teams together, which is a critical skill for leaders in the future. So they get to practice that within a relatively safe environment. But mostly it's about unlocking that human potential that sits within an organisation.
Teaming, it's a word we're starting to hear more and more. What's your kind of definition of that, and what have you seen work well?
What we're starting to see is that with the pace of change of technology and societal changes, there's a need to bring much more diversity together to solve problems. So traditionally, with a slower pace and more defined problems, it was very easy to sit within one area and solve that problem. But increasingly, the world hasn't seen some of the problems we have. You know, they might be ethical dilemmas to do with AI, or they might be the need to bring together your data analytics team with your deep insights from the commercial team, and then perhaps a scientific perspective on process.
Yes.
So it's bringing together different skills and unlocking, therefore, better solutions and outcomes. And that's a hard skill. You know, for leaders that have grown up in a very traditional world where, you know, we're not too far from the command and control environment of the 40s and 50s. You know, it's a new skill to have a fluid team that moves, where you bring in skills and release skills. Often, you know, we're groomed in corporate to hold on to talent and, you know, build them in your own team. But actually releasing that talent benefits everyone, including the talent themselves.
So should we be throwing organisation charts out the window?
Well, there's certainly some organisations starting to look at that, absolutely. You know, really thinking about what's the output or the value or the customer need, and putting that first, and then bringing together skills to deliver against that. And a lot of that thinking underpins some of the agile work that's being done. But even without going full agile, there's certainly lots of ways to bring teams together and perhaps unlock some of that capability within the organisation.
So, Jo, we've got a listener on the podcast, and they're going, I really feel like our organisation is command and control. I totally resonate with all the things you're talking about. I can see the opportunity and the flexibility and getting closer to customers and being more agile, and not necessarily in the sense of implementing agile, but just being fast, efficient, effective. Where should they start?
Well, Obviously, Teams Pro, which is our internal platform, is a great way to start, because what that platform does is effectively enables that first step towards unlocking new opportunities within the organisation and creating that visibility. And we provide a lot of support around the capability build too. So for leaders operating in this environment, it's a safe way to take some steps towards a different way of leading a team. And for talent, it's a safe way to actually practice working in different teams and learning new skills. And hopefully upskilling on the job, which we know is the most effective way to learn.
Right. And in reality, how does that work? So I've got Team Pro, I'm in the ops team, we've got a project coming up where we're trying to do a, let's say, reduce delivery time to market for products. What would I do with Team Pro? How would it help me?
It would help you because you could post the opportunity. Could be as small as bringing in someone from another part of the organisation for a few hours a week, or it might be a secondment. There's a lot of flexibility within the system around how it's used. You get to access people right across the organisation, so perhaps skills you haven't even thought of, someone in the marketing team who's going to bring quite a different perspective. You get to resource in your team and therefore hopefully get a better outcome as a result. So the platform really unlocks that ability to build out the team. And over time, what it then does for an organisation is, with the upskilling, is individuals can get real-time feedback on new opportunities, on how they're progressing. It can link into talent and performance opportunities as well.
Right. And has it led to some challenging questions in corporate teams where they've gone, hey, I've got that person, command and control, and that other nice C word, cost centre.
Yes.
I've got this person of a cost centre, and now I'm trying to, they're wanting to be released for 10 hours a week to go and work on this new project. How are organisations dealing with those kind of questions?
Those are all the kinds of questions. How do I release my team? There's also a perception that people are busy, so where do people find the capacity? But what we find is that if it's important enough for the organisation, there's always a way. So cost centres and all the rest of it, we really encourage organisations to think about this first and foremost as a development opportunity and an upskilling for the entire organisation. And then for individual managers, it's really about the engagement of their teams. All their teams perform better if they have more highly engaged staff. And it's amazing how we can find capacity for things we really love. So, the most important thing is not to force people into it, but to create the opportunity. And, with an intelligent conversation between a manager and a team member, there's always a way to find the capacity.
Sure. So, and it's, if everyone brings what's right for the customer, what's right for the organisation, what's right for us as individuals in there, if we bring that mindset to the table, there's always a solution.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Can you share with us a example of an organisation, just a project that they've done that, they've managed to bring together internal resource, maybe some external deep expertise as well, kind of how that project got off the ground and what was the experience for the people involved and what the outcomes were?
One of the companies we're working with at the moment is a utilities company that are really keen to open up more progressive ways of working and to experiment a little bit, recognising that in this new environment we're in, experimentation is really important, so taking safe risks. And in fact, the organisation is already saying, what if we were to then bring in another organisation and cross-collaborate? And that's where we see the real opportunity for New Zealand, is when you start to create an ecosystem of collaborative organisations sharing talent and really working for the better outcome. And there's some countries that do that really well in other parts of the world, who have that external perspective. And I think that's a real opportunity for us here, is how do we cross-collaborate and really create and unlock the value we have in New Zealand. So this organisation is looking upstream and downstream, who are their obvious partners. And so, for example, if they have a key project that benefits all the organisations, how do they bring that talent together, leveraging the platform and then giving opportunities? So, employees can get to work in another company, see another culture, work with a different group of people.
Brilliant.
So that's their vision. In a similar vein, we're working with a group of companies at the moment that are part of a holding company structure structure. So all independent companies, but all ultimately with a common purpose. So we're working with them at the moment to design a way of working that would see them see employees within the individual companies have the opportunities to work in other parts of the group, unlocking that once again that collaborative mentality to get a better outcome for the group as a whole.
Right. So. And I imagine that ultimately leads to better retention of great talent.
Absolutely.
Of course, they don't suddenly they're not going, I've run out of opportunity here, I need to move.
Yep.
They're going, I can stay as part of a key talent pool in this organisation, bringing access to other projects and experiencing other companies and cultures and
Absolutely. Awesome. One of the examples that we were given was a really great engineering individual who was actually getting a little bit bored within one of the companies and was probably fully engaged 4 days a week, a little bit of capacity, high retention risk because the person was in demand. What the platform has unlocked is the opportunity for that person to really add value in another part of the group, be fully engaged and taken away that retention risk. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and again, the ability to centre expertise and resource around the flexibility of key projects rather than going, to get this project off the ground, we're going to have to go and hire 10 people and it's going to be a really big expense, and can we get approval at a board level to spend that amount of money? I'm going to go, if we can get 5 hours a week from that person and 10 from that person, and maybe this person will second to the project for the whole time, but
absolutely. There are tangible cost savings that sit behind it, just in terms of making better use of the talent that sits within an organisation or within a group.
Right. I saw an article from, I think it was the chief executive of Cisco, and he predicted that we would see huge organisations in terms of revenue and market impact with only 2 employees being the CEO and the CIO.
Yeah.
How far do you think this will go? Will we see transformational change with organisations, literally getting rid of the org chart, going, yes, we've got these functions that need to be delivered every week, so it still makes sense to have maybe a core team around that, but everything else is virtually a flexible workforce. How far will it go?
How far? I'd like to think it will go a long way towards that way. I think it will take a while because we're still heavily vested in some of the traditional ways of working, but as we see those success stories coming out, increasingly more and more organisations are going to move in that direction. And we're aware of organisations already in New Zealand who are throwing away the job descriptions, taking apart the org chart and completely refocusing on customer and results. And they're the vanguard, the leaders, and the rest will follow, absolutely.
And what type of organisations are at the forefront of this? Is it all the cool tech startups where everyone's in a t-shirt and jandals, or are there some other more progressive organisations that we might not be aware of?
Yeah, it's all sorts of organisations. We're working with one organisation that's Canterbury based in a very traditional industry, a company of around 300 or 400 people, where the CEO said the way it's working today is not delivering the value I need, and I'm not optimising the talent within my organisation, and they have done exactly that. They've taken apart the job descriptions, they've put in place a head of human potential, and they're very much focused on delivering better outcomes for their customers in a completely different way. So this isn't a sort of sexy Auckland tech company. This is a heartland company that's recognising that the way we need to work has to shift, and they're doing it and they're living it. Yeah.
And what do you think will happen to the organisations that don't adopt some of this thinking and approach to people and approach the customer?
Our experience would be they'll start to lose talent and they'll start to lose competitiveness. More and more as we talk to people, across a wide range of organisations, this is the way people want to work, and this is the way customers want to have value delivered. It's got to be more nimble, more agile, more focused, more customer centric. We have to work in different ways, we have to collaborate, we have to be willing to put ourselves out there and take more risks and innovate. And the organisations that can't do that will just simply get left behind.
Yep, they will die. Okay, so you've talked a lot about collaboration, both that are at a team level and an organisation level, and some of the customers that you're already connecting with. What are you guys doing to collaborate?
Yeah, great question. We recognise that we need to collaborate to be successful. So we are starting to work with a number of other sharing platforms. We have some incredible innovators here in New Zealand. Whether it's Henry in Wellington that's doing some great work with innovating the way contractors get paid, whether it's sharing platforms like Parkable, there's a huge number of learnings and opportunities to really do something for the New Zealand economy together, and that's very much where we're focusing. So in fact we have a meeting coming up where we're getting together 5 or 6 of the sharing platforms here in New Zealand to start to look at how do we make sure that we take those learnings, collaborate and drive forward in a really positive way together.
Yeah, awesome. I feel like it's a mindset shift for New Zealand, possibly other parts of the world, but it's certainly my experience where contrasting what I've seen, particularly in the US versus here, where New Zealand typically has been very closed shop. If I've got a good idea, I've got to keep that. I don't want to share it with anybody else because someone else might take it and commercialize it or whatever. And I think I see particularly in the US, people much more open collaboration going, look, there's enough market share here for everyone if we can get in and help and
grow the pie.
And we'll share ideas, and I'll really like that one, so I'll run with that, but that one doesn't quite suit my business, so you take that one and I'll get the next one. I think if we it would help our economy and our country a lot if we could have a lot more sharing. So well done to you guys for being catalysts in our environment for getting that collaboration going.
No, it's an exciting time. It really is for New Zealand. So,
Okay. So what do you think FutureWorks Studio look like in 5 years' time?
Well, we hope that more than what we'll look like, it's what the organisations we're working with will look like. We really hope that there will be increasing numbers of organisations that are working in these more flexible ways, that are really unlocking the potential that sits within them, and that New Zealand as a whole is really driving hard in that productivity space and putting our feet well and truly on the world stage, because we have some of the best innovators in the world right here in New Zealand.
And is there a global play here for you guys directly? Because I like the politician's answer of going, we're here to help everybody else and it's all going to be nice, blah, blah.
Yes, so we're already working with several global companies or companies with footprints in other markets, and looking to expand that out. Absolutely, and that is back to your starting point. It's a small world in many ways, and we have shared challenges, shared opportunities. So the solutions that work in New Zealand, they actually work everywhere.
Totally. And I think we've known for a long time that one of the challenges with New Zealand entrepreneurs is they think about New Zealand, they kind of get maybe a nice level of income here and it's job done. So the more organisations that we can have, thinking about the size of that market opportunity, it helps grow our economy, it helps give opportunity for our people to grow and develop. Xero as an example, we've seen them do amazing things, and what they've created from a New Zealand economy perspective is great. So more companies like that.
And we have some natural benefits. One of the things we're aware of, and particularly in the data space, for example, is that in many other markets there's huge demand and there's a supply gap. Here in New Zealand, we may not have the demand yet, but we have the supply. So actually there's a huge opportunity to be complementary and to leverage those dynamics globally to make sure that we can provide a different solution as well.
So if I was able to log into Team Pro in my organisation and access the external resource, what would I find on your profile?
On my profile?
Yeah. Do you if we keep the flexible working thing, yes, you're running a business, you're an entrepreneur in your own right, but you've got a skill set that might be really useful for other organisations to utilise.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you looked on my profile, you'd find that I've worked in a lot of international markets at senior levels in strategic human resources and running businesses. And I think the unique skill that I bring is that ability to bring the commercial lens, but understand how to unlock the best out of people to deliver that. So organisations that are looking to transform and make change, that's where I really love to play.
Brain drain is a term that we've heard in New Zealand a lot, where maybe we can't give our very best people the opportunity because of our local market size. Do you feel like what you're doing will give an opportunity for more of our best people to stay in New Zealand?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely the case. We're already working with a number of organisations internationally that are coming to us to say, who do you have in New Zealand that actually has that skill set that can support us globally, but based from New Zealand? So New Zealanders that are highly skilled, who may be willing to travel, but can stay right here in New Zealand, continue to build the capability in New Zealand, but service a global client base. Right. I think that's a very real thing, and we'll see that increasingly. Yeah.
And technology is just making that so much more accessible.
Absolutely.
I can participate in a team, I can be in a different time zone, a different hemisphere, and I can be part of it.
That's right.
We see lots of organisations using the Zoom and Slack and Asana, whatever your tools are, but it's making all that kind of thing more achievable. And when you bring a value-based lens to that engagement, rather than how many hours are you sitting at the desk in my office after a 3-hour commute, once you ditch that and go, how do we deliver value and what's the right outcome for the customer, it just makes all that strip away and get a lot more real.
It really does. And a great example of that is before we came here this morning, we're on a call with the US, with a Brazilian leader, talking about New Zealand talent that might service Asia for that organisation.
Wow.
So
awesome.
That's the new world that we live in.
Yeah, that is fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, look, congratulations to you, Joe, and to Vincent, your business partner, on what you've achieved. It's fantastic to see someone taking that in that freelance model, which I guess has been around for a while, but looking at how you unlock it both internally in organisations and externally, and then bringing the global approach to it. I think it's such a great initiative for New Zealand, and really wish you guys every success. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for the opportunity to be here.
You're welcome.
Thanks.